You ready to get weird?
Yeah. Let's see what you got.
It's more see what you got. You brought up this topic, and I don't think this is top 3 most excited I've been to jump on to record the SuccessFlow podcast.
Well, I mean, it's like I was joking around with the kids, and I have been recently because it's just there's been some odd things that happen, and it's like, oh, well, we should dive into it a little bit, and obviously everyone's going to have their own beliefs, and I don't even know what to believe after diving into this fully, but I think we're living in a simulation, bro.
Okay. I love it. I love the exploration.
Exploration, let's put emphasis on that. There's no real beliefs of what it is or what it isn't, but there is a real thing called simulation theory. But there was times where like I'd be driving around with the kids or whatever, and something weird, we'd see something weird out in the world, and I'm like, don't worry about it. We're just in a simulation anyway. And it's just like a little bit of a running joke. And then I was like, well, let's dive in. Let's just see what this is about. And so I went down the YouTube rabbit hole recently about the simulation theory. And there's like this whole, it's not new. It's modernized.
That's a deep rabbit hole too.
Deep. Oh my gosh. You could spend so much time. And I was like, wow, I'm wasting my life diving into this. But I thought it would be a good topic, and I presented it to you. And I think it's funny how you're like, I could talk about this for 17 hours. So should we have part 47 built into this series, or
this may be a part 1 and 2, depending on how far we get today. But I love it. And I think you already kind of stated it. We want to drive home that the only thing that we can know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. And that brings some peace, even though frustration as you're seeking knowledge, seeking meaning, success, whatever you want to put into it. But if this feels too precise, if it's triggering, I know we have listeners that are, have their values based in religion, and we're going to talk a little bit about that too. But just keep an open mind. I mean, we're going to talk about, I think one of the best examples is most popular examples is The Matrix, which we'll talk about a little bit, but just keep an open mind. We're just going to explore the science, philosophy, and the spirituality behind simulation theory. And we're not going to dismiss faith or traditional beliefs, but real quick, don't we need to give a disclaimer to our listeners about the podcast in general? Yes.
If you've been a Spotify listener and you have noticed that episodes have been dropping off, we're working through that. We are a full go on YouTube, have always been no issues there, but we're working with Spotify to fix some episodes and some false claims that are going on. And that's a little bit of behind the scenes stuff for anyone never hosting a podcast. Is sometimes you got to deal with that stuff, but definitely check us out. Keep checking us out on YouTube. That's where we want to drive growth. But Spotify is something we're working through. If you've noticed that some episodes have dropped off, which has been a lot of fun recently, just to add it to the plate.
It's part of the challenges of the simulation.
It's okay because we're living in a simulation anyway. It's just the simulation pushing it back, giving us more opportunity to figure things out. I would say let's use that, leverage it as an opportunity, and not get frustrated with it. All right, so simulation theory, just real quick, is not new. I mean, come to find out, I was like, oh, rise of AI. Yeah, I'm now believing we're in the Matrix because everything's, it's virtual reality. Nothing's real. But it's like ancient, like it goes way back. Like this is not a new thing. You obviously have known about this a lot more. Obviously we've seen the Matrix, we've seen video games and other things like that and how that all works. But take us back a little bit. What do you know from the history and how this started?
Well, I want to go way back when we get to more of the spiritual and world religions piece, but from a modern take and post actually the Matrix, Nick Bostrom was a guy that wrote a 2003 paper called "Are You Living in a Computer Simulation?" And we hear about this all the time: gamifying life, playing the game of life, even some of the languages we use. But Bostrom proposed that one of the following must be true. Civilizations never reach the level of technology capable of running ancestor simulations. So we think in separate zones, separate simulations, or civilizations that do reach that level choose not to run those simulations. And those civilizations cease to exist. Call Rome, Atlantis, etc. Or 3, we are definitely living in a simulation. And so this was the first framework that connected computing, which we all know that was right post.com, which probably drove a lot of this, the dot-com bubble bursting. But it connected advanced computing, consciousness, and metaphysics. So as we look at this, this is back to meaning of life. This is out there. This is where I love to spend my free time, is just thinking about consciousness, what may be. I know that I'm never going to get the formal answers, but it's really fun for me to kick this around, and I think it's good for my brain. So,
yeah, well, constantly learning something new, right? And it honestly, I think it does provide, like when you think about it, does anything really actually matter if you believe in this theory? And it makes life almost easier to navigate, because it goes back almost to what I talk about with be a duck mentality, controlling the controllables and letting things roll off your back, because you can't change it anyway. You just continue to pursue what you think is right, and you do it at a high level in pursuit, as you're striving for excellence. But yeah, Bostrom's an interesting cat. If you ever go check him out, he's definitely a little bit out there, but he's got some theories that, can make some sense sometimes. And like, whenever you think of like a glitch in the system, it's like, well, shoot, was that planned or was that not planned? Or like when something comes your way, or sometimes you think about manifesting something, right? We talk about manifestation a lot. And like a real world example is like the I believe I can, the I am, those statements and the things that you say to yourself, and you put that out into the universe. And then all of a sudden it comes to fruition. You're like, oh man, did I just kind of simulate what I wanted to happen? Then now it's actually happening. Like if I put so much power into it. So that's where you talk about like the cognitive side and the power that we have in our own brains, along with, the technology and the advancements and all that stuff. But I try to relate it to, the best example I can give is like a video game. Like you're only going to be able to see what's presented in front of you. And so like you can only see as far. So we don't really know what's going on 10 miles from now unless someone tells us about it or whatever. But even then is that real? And so it's like in a video game, you may see a building in the distance, but you don't actually see the inside of the building. Like it's not rendered that way. It's just rendered as like a pixel or two. And then as you approach the building, it gets more and more detailed, more and more detailed. And even then you're never going to see what's actually inside unless you walk inside. And so it's like, it's a wild concept to wrap your head around, but video games have, is a great analogy or an example of how that would potentially work.
It absolutely is. And I think one of the simplest examples that is used in philosophy and many people will have heard of is if a tree falls in the woods and no one witnesses it, did it make a sound? Like, does the simulation care if it wasn't witnessed in consciousness, or did the tree just fall? Very simple, but that applies to anything in life. And now, especially in media, we're talking about alternate realities. We're talking about parallel universes. And quantum physics actually supports some of this. Without a witness, each choice that we make could take us down a different path. So you can make the argument, even though we made one choice, is there a potential scenario in the situation where the other choice was made and you're still living that reality? And can you jump from one to the other? But we're getting pretty deep now.
Well, have you seen, there's a show called The Box. I think it's on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
Loved it.
Right. It's like, there's an infinite hallway with a door every 6 feet, and it's your life. It's like any small minuscule decision that you make is going to change the trajectory of your life. And you could walk through that door and see what your life would be like.
Don't ruin that one for the listeners, but listeners, go watch The Box, because it's going to give a much better example than we're going to give on the podcast. And it's super entertaining, but loved that example too. And then the other one that won the Oscar, Everyone, Everywhere, All the Time, or something like that. I think it won an Oscar.
Yes.
Weird to watch. Like, Paula had to watch it twice because it annoyed her the first time. To like, give it another chance. And then she actually enjoyed it the second time. But anyway, getting back on the subject, those are arguing that in the simulation, there are multiple realities. And based on your choices, you can choose to jump from one to the other at any given time. But instead, what we talk about on this podcast a lot is we get in certain repetitious patterns with a ton of distraction that changes from making changes, jumping to those parallel opportunities and making different choices, even if it's in a simulation. And I think that brings us to like the topic of free will, which is most people's big, problem with simulation theory.
Yeah. I kind of remember grew up, born in California, grew up in Arizona, and we made a stint in Colorado. If you remember, we moved out to Colorado. Mm-hmm. Jack was just a couple years old, but that was like a big move. Like a lot of people don't make big moves. You did it from St. Louis to Phoenix, right? Like big moves where you're just going to go do something. And then we ended up coming back. But it's like when you wrap your head around making a big decision like that and realizing that, hey, wherever you came from, you can just go back if you need to, or that like you can have like, it's that alternate type of universe in a way where it's like, hey, I know I'm going to be okay because I'm going to make this move. And then if it doesn't work, I'll come back, or I'm going to see if I'm going to make this work. Like your perception is reality. And that's really what it is. It's like, whatever I want to create my world to look like, I can go create that. It's the free will you're talking about. And so if I'm not creating anything, if I'm not like looking at it as a way to grow and develop and try new things, then I think we're missing the point. And that's what this life gives us. It gives us this opportunity to do that. Whether it's being controlled by some other higher power or what, I don't know, that's
a perfect transition, because as we say simulation, we all go to technology, driving back to the Matrix, that there is a technology running code that argument would be from a religious perspective, depending on that there's a programmer, right? Like where did who simulated the simulation? And if we're running on the simulation, when you talk about free will, it's like there's a quantum dice perspective, I think is what it's called, that there's a minuscule randomizer that does randomize certain things along the path, these obstacles, left field, that can be programmed, right? We know that there's randomizers in Excel, there's randomizers in video games. That piece is what brings the uncertainty that life has. So it's not scripted in the sense that destiny, right? We're going the opposite of destiny in this concept. It's not set, but this constant randomization makes a lot of sense when we talk about VUCA, and especially right now, the uncertainty in the world.
You remember playing the game Sims?
I think I logged into it once.
Yeah. I didn't play much of it either, but I just go back to the video game thing. Like you're creating this world, and then, people are kind of just walking around or whatever, but you can, when you want to tap them, they'll go that direction or whatever. I don't think anything like that is what's happening. Like, it's not like where there's like someone just tapping and like we're, a bunch of puppets or whatever. It seems far fetched, but I do think that, again, there's a possibility, that there is plenty out there for the taking if you just wrap your head around that anything is possible. And it kind of goes around the relentless, from good to great to unstoppable, and what we talk about, Tim Grover. It goes around some of the other books we read, of just the possibilities are available. Opportunity is everywhere. It's a matter of, can I tackle my goals in pursuit of everything I want with the confidence that I'm able to get there? And it almost gives you, when you wrap your head around, like, okay, if we're in a simulation, like, who cares? Like, maybe my character can handle that. Right. And it's like almost out of body, and it's not even about you. It's just about going to take the action and just, and making it happen.
This is where I wish we started plugging in clips, because I'm gonna quote a clip, my favorite part of the Matrix, there's a lot. It's tough to choose, but he's in a battle with the agents, and he's getting his ass kicked. Neo is getting his ass kicked. The agent looks at him. He says, "Why do you persist?" And it's raining, and Neo looks up and just goes, "Because I choose to." And it's like it's so perfect. Everyone's been there. Yeah. And it's like that choice: give up, be swallowed by the powers that be, or persist, make a different decision. And of course, we know he's the hero of the story, how that works out. But I was just having that conversation with a friend of the pod, Marcos, and one of our close friends this week. And it was just like, that's the easiest way to, everyone says, oh, you seem to have it together, or things are really clicking for you. And they chalk it up to luck or that you're programmed different. It's like just simply persisting, concept of perseverance. And it's really all there is. Like Hormozy says, get better and don't stop. Oversimplified, right? It's tough. It's just tough to exist, but get better, don't stop. Things tend to work out for you. But again, we can oversimplify on the SuccessFlow podcast.
Well, I think that's where we bring some ideas and philosophies and things to the table. And it does really come back to the consistency and discipline and, whatever it is that you're striving for, what you're working on. But all right. So I think like if you're like a software programmer and you're thinking in code and you've got these opportunities to build something, create something, treating your life in that way will allow you to recognize opportunities better, will allow you to recognize relationships better, because it's your choice, right? You're choosing to take these actions, choosing to do these things. But when we go back to like virtual reality, like the Matrix stuff and like what we've talked about, like I don't think that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about being plugged into the sense where like we've got a body that we can't, that's just plugged in like the Matrix style, that's just out who knows where. But I think it's more of like you can crack the code of the universe and the world by giving yourself evidence that you can pursue and be successful in the actions that you're taking to reach the next level, whatever that level looks like. And it's not being controlled by anyone else. You're just leveraging the system and leveraging the what's available to you. And it's just like a video game. If you can only see as far as the building, well, then go explore the building, like go further, right? And go continue to explore the world, make the big move and find out what you're capable of and all those types of things. I just think this is such a wild, and it contradicts a lot of other beliefs, right? It contradicts religion. It contradicts why we're even here. It gets very, very deep. But at the same time, it's like, okay, whatever you believe, like what happened before that started? Like, and it's hard. It's really hard to go down these deep rabbit holes.
Infinity is really tough that it always has been is one of the hardest concepts. And some people can't get past that.
I personally can't. Like, I can't. If I start thinking about it, like, it's just no. I just cannot go down that path. It's hard for me, and I'm like, I'm just gonna, go have lunch with my wife. I can't think about like, I got to move on. Like, it freaks me out at times.
Well, I know a lot of people love Neil deGrasse Tyson. He has taken a way to bring science and physics and simplify it to the masses. And deGrasse Tyson gives simulation theory a 50% chance, but like we kick this off, he's not convicted. He thinks it's extremely interesting, but it's unprovable by science, which is how we kind of kicked off. And I compared that to Elon Musk, who is completely convicted.
Yeah, what do you say? One in a billion that were
we're not in a simulation.
Right, that were not base reality.
Exactly.
Where is he coming up with this?
Those are two very intelligent people. And I know, polarizing on both counts. But it's fascinating to think at the end of the day, then we're having a podcast on it, but does it matter? It's like you taking your view. Does it help you? Does it help your perspective to keep going and building the life you want? Mental brain exercise. I just enjoy it. And this is not my belief. Mine is definitely more of this cosmic joke, greater energy. Everything is so unexplainable. But from my experience, there is something moving in this regard, existence, non-simulation, that gives a certain amount of free will, but also it's in each and every one of us that we as living things all contribute to it. And it's constantly this great mystery. That's not like the great mystery is a quote from my friend Hamid, but that's the way I look at it. And that brings me peace.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I think that's what it is. Is it wherever your beliefs are, like if it brings you peace, that's all that matters. And I think if you look at this theory, it can bring people peace, knowing that they almost to the point where you're like, well, I'm not necessarily responsible for my successes, failures, whatever. I don't have a preconceived notion about how this is going to go because it's a simulation anyway. So I'm just going to go find out. And that's as opposed to, well, this sucks. I'm not doing anything like that. I think you leverage it as an opportunity to go attack things with vigor and just be excited about life, because at the end of the day, we don't really know what's going to happen at the end. Right. And so it's like, why not? It's like YOLO, but not really, it's like, just you leverage this as an opportunity to explore some interesting things. And it might take you down a completely new path. I was actually just having a coffee with somebody, and I was telling about our trip to Hawaii, and they were saying, yeah, I have, I think it was a cousin, or I don't know, somebody was like, we did a family trip out to Hawaii, and this girl's like 22 years old, the cousin. And she's like, no strings attached, nothing back home, no obligations or whatever. And she's like, you know what? I'm not going to go back. I'm just going to stay here. And she's now a resident in Hawaii, met a local, and like getting married. This is like 6-7 years ago. My, the person I was having coffee with was telling me about. It's just wild that just make that decision. Like, we're in a simulation anyway, bro. Like, who cares?
You can change that code later. That's
I just think it's a funny
example.
Perspective. Yeah.
And speaking of examples, and to your point of exploration, we're going to break this up into 2 parts and come back at you with some examples to tease this out a little further. Go do a little research, do a little exploration on simulation theory, and we're going to be back at you next week with part 2.